Mrs. Melanin.
And I'm Belief Mel.
And we're here with episode 161 of
How Married Are You? Okay, my name Belief. This is Eva, and we've been married
12 years.
Live in California, and we got
4 kids.
Relationships scary. It's very necessary. We share our love of struggles. We ask, how married are you? Every Tuesday and Thursday, shoddy. If you're listening, you're in the wedding party. It's okay if you want to put your hands up. You got the questions, we got the answers.
It's chocolate baby story time.
Chocolate baby story time.
It's chocolate baby story time.
1, 2, 3, and
the audio was recording last time.
It's chocolate baby story time.
On this.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Okay, so I don't know if y'all follow me on Instagram or not, but if you don't, you should. I'm Mrs. Melanin on Instagram. My dear Uzziah, and I'm also on TikTok as Mrs. Melanin, just saying, plug. My Uzziah has been potty trained for a while. I think we tried to potty train him when he was like 2 years old, but it was obvious he wasn't ready. And so he was more so potty trained at like 3. And he's kind of like been doing something weird in the last 6 months, I'd say, as far as like having accidents or waiting until the very last minute to try to get to the potty and stuff. But within the last few weeks, I have had a couple kids come in and tell me, Mom, I just caught Uzi peeing in the trash can.
Yeah.
Now you'd think they were talking about the trash can in the bathroom. Absolutely not. They're talking about the trash can in his bedroom. So it's not even like he was trying to get to the toilet and he just was like, let me just pee in the trash can real quick. He was in his bedroom peeing in the trash can.
Wow.
And, you know, his room kind of did smell like pee, you know, sometimes when you walk in there. I just assumed it was like the pull-ups that he wears when he goes to bed at night, whatever. Anywho, it's been the whole saga. I've talked about it on social media, but everybody told me to get the like urinal, the potty training urinal. We've raised 2 boys before we raised Uzi, or we're raising 2 boys older than Uzi. And so I've never heard of this thing called the potty urinal, but I went ahead and purchased it after the second time he got caught. And he was so excited. He actually asked me if I could put it in his room. I said absolutely not, because you have to empty it in the toilet when you're done.
Yeah.
But he loves it. Today when Lexi came to watch him, that was like one of the first things he wanted to show her was the froggy toilet.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of frogs,
oh my
we
goodness.
went on a walk for
Yes.
Walk for Earth Day. Thank you guys, everybody who joined us on April 22nd for Walk for Earth Day. We went on this walk. We were doing this nature walk, and so I'm walking and I'm talking to somebody and I hear like this yelp, this scream, and I'm like, that sounds like Uzi. And
it was me. It wasn't Uzi. I actually have footage from my phone because I was taking a video of the frogs. Did I not show you? I mean, of the whatever it was on the thing, and I was like, I was looking at it. Hold on.
You have a video of him?
I have a video, not of him falling.
Well, I heard him crying.
No, but
after he went in.
Yes. Oh, you didn't hear me? Watch this.
No.
Oh, it's turtles. That was me.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, you didn't hear that? What did you?
I heard that.
Poor buddy.
I heard that. And so what that is that's the sound of Uzi walking into the tall grass and walking into a pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so enamored by the turtles because there were so many of them. So I had my phone out recording and he was next to me and I was like, Uzi, you see it? I didn't realize he was going to walk.
He's like, nah, I can't see it. And just walk through.
He literally did. He opened up the grass things and just walked. He was trying to walk to the turtles. I don't know. He thought he was Jesus for a minute or something.
I laughed so hard. It was so funny. And then when you see him, he's so upset. He's more embarrassed.
Yeah, there were so many people looking at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he wasn't hurt or whatever. But his pants were wet. His shoes were wet. It was bad. But anyway, I knew for a moment. I was like, that sounds like Uzi. And that's weird when you can recognize your child's yell from that far away. But I sprinted up there and I was like, what happened? I thought he peed on himself. But nope, he was trying to be a true Ninja Turtle, and he failed.
And Glenn was teasing him too, calling him a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
All right, y'all. So we got an email. But before I get into this email, because I feel like this email, the person writing this email could really use a premarital advantage. I just want to remind you all that we released an e-course called the PreMarital Advantage, which is not a substitute for premarital counseling, but it is more so a mentorship of Glenn and I. So many people have asked us over the years that we've been doing this podcast, hey, will you counsel us? Will you da-da-da? We do not have any kind of certification for counseling. We just have life experience.
Or capacity for one-on-ones, really.
Facts. We just have life experience that we feel like we wanted to share and make available to you all and just add some value to your relationships.
Oh.
I can still hear that. We want to add some value to your...
Go. Just joking. You couldn't hear it.
We could hear it.
Add value to your relationships because we know that people walk into relationships without guidance, right? And you may be overwhelmed with so many feelings and everything's going to work out fine. And I don't need to talk about all these things that I've gone through. And I don't need to bring up my family of origin. And I don't need to do this or that. And we talk about all that stuff of all the things you need to be talking about in depth with a workbook. So please get the daggone course. It's $250. It's worth it. We are not replacing premarital counseling. It is a supplement, and it is vital to your survival.
To your survival?
No, real talk. You know what I'm saying? Because when you go to premarital counseling, you're there usually with other couples. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Or if your church that you're going to isn't like doctrinally appropriate, then it's probably going to be maybe your pastor and his wife who probably need counseling. More counseling. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, we have really good conversations on the PreMarital Advantage. Stop playing, invest in your marriage, invest in your humanity, because you'll be saving yourself some time and some hurt feelings by taking this course. So,
indeed. And you will understand why we were trying to plug that when you get through this email.
It's a long one.
It is a long one. She gives her name and her age. I think that's relevant, kind of. She's 23. All right. I'm 23. I know I'm a baby. I grew up in a single-parent home with my siblings. My mom and dad were married but separated. My father passed from cancer, ending their 10-year marriage. And, of course, my mom took it really hard. She was strung out. She physically beat us and neglected us. Eventually, my mom started dating, and my life took a turn for the worst. I ended up being physically and sexually abused within my house by the men in her life.
Dang.
When I turned 18, I went away from my home to get away from the things in my house. I applied to college and went to school on a full-ride scholarship and paved the way for my life these past 4 years. Along the way, I met this guy who was 26, who is very kind, God-fearing, and handsome.
26, very kind, God-fearing, handsome. Okay.
Yes. When we met, we first became friends, which was crazy timing, God. Because when we met, I had just gotten through a sexual abuse case with a family friend, quote unquote friend, my mother had me staying with. He came in my life at a very significant...
I'm confused by that. We met and I just got through...
I think she was saying when we met for the first time, we became friends, and it was very crazy timing because she had just finished with this sexual abuse case.
That was done to her?
Yes, she was the victim.
Oh, okay.
With a family friend my mom had me staying with. He came in my life at a very significant time, he being the 26-year-old God-fearing, handsome man.
Okay.
Very significant time. He was the first man I ever trusted with my body, my feelings, and heart. 7 years later, we're here, and we now have our first home together. I love him, and I plan to spend the rest of my life with him. He made it clear to my family and his friends that he wants to create a covenant with me, which is why we have spent the last few years building a foundation that we can stand on.
What?
I knew you were going to have something to say.
What is that? That was some real neo soul, Hotep, dude with a beard type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Dude with a beard.
He made it clear to my family and his family that he wants to create a covenant with me. Okay, well, do it. Right? Which is why we have spent the last few years building a foundation that we can stand on. What is that? That don't make no sense.
She said few. She didn't say the whole 7. They've been together 7 years, but she said
you,
the last.
You spent 5 years. You spent a few years building a foundation. All right, now I smell a finesse.
Okay,
let's continue.
Communicating with each other, even if it's hard. Not staying mad at each other. Allowing God to be the head of our household and going to God first when we have a problem. As I continue to grow into this young woman of God, I've been getting closer and closer to God's word and understanding his mission for my life, his promises, and the responsibilities between a husband and a wife. Last night, my boyfriend and I talked about submission, and I told him, quote, she used quotes around told, I'm not sure why, him that men do submit to their women like women do for the men. He brought me to these scriptures. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 13 to 25. Should we read these? Here. All right. Okay, yeah. I'll look up the next one. Oh, both of them are from 1 Peter. You look up 1 Peter. Oh, and I already know Ephesians 5.
Okay, 1 Peter
2. Dang, 13 to 25 is like 12 verses.
All right.
I hear you. That's rude. Jed
Submission
has to
to
edit
authority.
this.
Submission to authority. Be subject to the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to emperor as supreme or to governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil. You know what? You know what?
I'd like you to just be able to get through it. I was lost though.
I can't get through it because it's so interesting that scripture is the main point here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. If we're gonna be biblical, let's be biblical.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna be talking about the scriptures, let's talk about the scriptures. Now, I'm not saying you guys are doing anything that's outside of God's will, but he said he was gonna make a covenant to you, and he didn't. He said it. You know what I'm saying? Like there ain't no covenant in this to me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'll proceed. Servants, be subject to your masters with all respect, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the unjust. For this is a gracious thing. When mindful of God, one endures sorrows while suffering unjustly. For what credit is it if, when you sin, you are beaten for it, you endure? But if when you do good and suffer for it, you endure. This is the gracious thing in the sight of God. For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you might follow in his steps. Is that it?
Was it verse 25?
I'm irritated.
Okay. I'm going to keep reading. Oh, and then there was another scripture in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1 through 7. Okay, so she said that 1 Peter chapter 2, 13 to 25 explains what it means to submit and how authority is only people by God. And how authority is only people by God? Like God gives them people authority? Is that what she's saying? Or is that what he's saying? She's saying he brought me to these scriptures.
Okay. He brought you to the scriptures. You can read them if you want. The scriptures, 1 Peter chapter 2.
Chapter 2, verses 13 and 25. And then she references 1 Peter 3, 1 through 7, which she says explains the wives should be subject to their own husbands. And then she brings up the one that we all know, which is Ephesians 5:22, which says that wives should submit to their husband, and husband sanctifying cleanses his wife, husband submit to God. And then yada, yada, yada.
Well, who the wife and who the husband? Because they ain't married. What is he talking about?
Okay, so then he said, so she goes on to say, he said, no, wives submit to their husbands, He said, there are things that he does for me that could be seen as submission, but is just different. When wives submit to their husbands, it's different than just actions. And being overfilled with emotion, I started, she was
overfilled with emotion.
Overfilled with emotion. She started to cry and got so frustrated with him. In the moment, she didn't want to accept that in some way, shape, or form, she does submit to him. Sorry, I don't know why I started speaking in second person. I'm going to continue reading. I know submission is not all the things that I do for him around the house, like his laundry or making Sunday dinner. I know that submission is not just the little things I do to make his life easier, like pack his lunch or set his clothes out for work.
She does all that for him?
Yes. Or set his clothes out for work. The fact of the matter is he does lead me and our family through Christ, and I'm appreciative of that.
They have kids?
No, I don't know what she means by our family. Maybe she means the friends. She never said anything about children. I'm not going to assume they have kids.
Okay.
And our family through Christ, and I'm appreciative of that. I guess it scares me because I know this is going to have to submit. I guess it scares me because I know this is going to have to submit for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to submit for the rest of my life. My questions are, Glenn, was it hard as a young man to tell Yvette your position in her life as her husband, and did she accept the stance right away?
Who do y'all think I am? Or who do you think I'm married to? What do y'all think this is?
Let's just finish the email and then start responding. Yvette, I have to have been a teacher, and I know how important it is for children to submit to their teachers or authority. In the same way that children submit to God, do you think that wives do the same thing? Although I have to submit to my future husband, will I still be seen as an equal in Christ's eyes, or am I beneath or behind him? Will it always be my primary job to take care of the home, and how can I better accept it? My love, I just want to say it's not you, it's your upbringing, right? Because I feel like a lot of this is cringeworthy.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to take offense, but inside, I'm literally having a physical reaction that is very frustrating because it's just a matter of your upbringing and your lack of, someone hasn't necessarily been stewarding you well, I feel like, in your understanding of these scriptures and your place as a woman and marriage and all the things. It's obvious you don't have a good presence of a healthy, godly relationship in your marriage. So I just want to apologize for that gap in your life. That's just the first thing I want to say before Glenn goes in, because I'll chime in, but I'm going to let you respond.
Okay. Oh, that's it?
That was the email.
Oh, okay.
That was the end of the email.
All right. So
yeah,
I think there's a couple things happening. Now, are you sure they're not married? No, yeah.
She said my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she said that
they're building the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the past few years, they've been building.
Yeah, I would say that, and this is not an attempt to shame you.
Not at all.
For what you've done, for what you've been through.
Yeah.
But to me, it's obvious that there are some things you believe, that only someone who sustained the type of trauma.
Yes.
That you have been through would adopt that thinking, because right, this is what does she call him, handsome, God-fearing, a very kind, God-fearing, and handsome man, guy that you met, right? You still not, you're still not, he's not the best thing in the world. There's other people out there. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want you to get in a position to where you found someone who doesn't abuse you and think that you're winning.
Yeah.
Just because they don't abuse you. You know what I'm saying? You deserve better than what you think you deserve. God has thousands times more for you than what you think you deserve. So let's just put that into perspective. And so when you have someone who I think that he's not necessarily aware of his calling as a husband, because he's not one. When you get in a position, and I understand that Yvette can do whatever she wants, and she does sometimes, whatever she wants. She don't gotta listen to me. I feel like at over a certain amount of years, she's been like, I'm not doing, like, I'd rather you take the fall than me. Like, I'd rather you, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to, it's my responsibility. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's a matter of me necessarily wanting you to take the fall.
No, I'm just using that as a metaphor. I'm just saying that, like, it's my responsibility what happens in our family.
Yeah, but I'm also not an ignorant idiot.
Right.
So I'm not going, so like, yes, sometimes I will submit to your leadership. I mean, most of the time. I mean, all the time. I'm just kidding. I'm not
sometimes she doesn't.
Yeah, sometimes I don't.
No, sometimes she doesn't. But it's not for my benefit. It's for her. For me, I'm trying, like, you're gonna have to learn that lesson either way. And the thing is, it's like people think submission means that I'm trying to control her.
Yeah, it's like somebody is a puppet master or like barking orders. But I feel like that's the thing, is submission has a negative connotation in society. And I'm not sure who did that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the word it's a bad word. Like, it's not a great word to understand, like, what's happening here. Because even, like, if you look at the direct correlation, right, it says, wives, submits to your husband as, the church, what is it? Wives, submit to your husband.
I have to pull it up. Sorry, I made this bigger so I could see, and now I'm having difficulty.
Ephesians 5:20.
It is, for wives, this means submit to your husbands as to the
Lord, right? For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. Then it says for husbands, right? And then I stop there. Then it says for husbands, this means love your wives such as Christ loved.
That's verse 25, by the way, guys.
Verse 25 is now. For husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave himself up for her, which means he died for her. He died. So if I'm willing to die, she should be able to submit to that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm supposed to die to myself, like, I don't even think she understands. I don't think you understand, like, what that means and how often
you have to die to
I
yourself.
have to die to myself. You know what I'm saying? But, like, I know people who don't die to themselves and who put themselves before their family and leave their wives hanging, right? So that's not her life, right?
That's not my life.
But if I'm saying, and I don't know what the submission look like. What does submission look like right now for us? Like, give me an example of you submitting to me.
I feel like I have to submit to your schedule in the capacity that you have to like, do what you can do.
So, like, if I need to go somewhere and I need to do something for work, then you submit to that.
Yeah.
Are there times when you have to go somewhere and I submit to that?
Yeah.
So is that submission, or is that just kind of like
consideration?
It's planned, it's scheduled. I got something to do. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know, because, like, I was supposed to be in San Luis Obispo last weekend, and that was scheduled, and the ticket was paid for, and then the short film ended up being that same weekend. So
yeah,
it took precedent over my conference, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what you call submission in your way.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, like, you would say
submission in your way. Say more.
So
about
you would
that.
say, like, okay, so I wanted to do something and I couldn't do what I wanted. Right.
Okay.
So you submitted to my schedule.
Okay, and another way I submit to you.
No. I think that's a good example.
Oh.
So I'm saying that what it looks like for me is, like, it's not even about what I wanted to do. It's like I have to wait for you. Like, I can't move until we're on the same page. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to give, like, a good example. You know what I mean? But, like, there was like, positions I'm put in where it's like, okay, I know I have to do this. Okay, like submission would be the Huggies thing, the Huggies Pampers thing.
This always comes up.
I mean, it's a good example. Okay. It happened.
We're over it though. You forgive me?
Or I mean, I don't understand why I can't bring it up. And
no.
Why is it triggering for you? And why can't I bring it up as a logical example?
No. It's a logical example. I'm just saying, are you good though?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm bringing it up.
Okay, go ahead.
But you aren't good because you're emotionally attached to the thing.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm over it now.
Okay, so I can continue.
Yeah.
All right. So, we were working with a company.
Mm-hmm. You just said the company.
Yeah, the company Pampers. Yvette was like, we were buying Pampers. We had a card to buy Pampers. Pampers gave us the card to buy Pampers. Yvette likes Huggies wipes, so she was like, I'm not buying Pampers.
It wasn't even Huggies wipes. It was Kirkland.
Whatever.
Costco wipes.
Babe, they were Huggies wipes. They were Huggies wipes. They had Mickey Mouse on it, yes. So, anyway, she wanted to buy what she wanted to buy, and I'm like, absolutely not. And we butt heads there. She did not want to submit to me there, right? Mm-hmm. What it looks like for me is like, for me to die to myself is for me to be like, yo, I don't want to go to Mexico. I don't think it's a good idea for us to go to Mexico. I don't care nothing about Mexico. But you want to go to Mexico. Mm-hmm. Or I don't want to move to Atlanta. I have no desire to move to Atlanta. But you want to move to Atlanta, so let's go to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's like I need to move forward in this way, but I can't move past you. So I have to give you what you know what I'm saying? That's against my will. Like, I do not want, it's not even that I want to do that. I don't want to take our family there. I don't want you to move there. I don't want nobody to move to Atlanta. No offense to Atlanta. I know we got a lot of supporters in Atlanta. I'm just saying,
we sure do.
I'm saying like any of my family. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to move to Atlanta. That's not the goal. Mm-hmm. Right? But I'm saying that is this good examples, or am I like slowly triggering you here?
What are you saying? Like, you died to yourself because you went with me to Atlanta to look at houses? You died to yourself because you went to Mexico? Is that what your point is?
My point is, yeah.
Okay.
My point is, like, that's not even me submitting to you. It's almost like I have to do what I can't do, we shouldn't do, so that because otherwise it's like I'm not supporting you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, if you say, hey, I want to go to Atlanta, and I say, absolutely not, there's nowhere we're going, no. Mm-hmm. But in loving you, I say, all right, babe, let's see what Atlanta's like. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go look at houses. Let's go do whatever you want to do. Let's see. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Let's just figure it out. I think that I can't be so shut down when it comes to the stuff that you want to pursue. And I think that, to me, is love. That's how I'm loving you despite me. To me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, like, even though you wanted to go to the conference and you probably would have gotten a lot of information there and you probably would have felt better about your season and those things, I don't feel like that was, I feel like it was you loving me for sure, but it was you submitting to the schedule that we had. You know what I'm saying? And like saying, like, forget it, I'm not going to be able to make it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so essentially we are in the same position where we're submitting to each other, but at the same time, I think it just looks different. You don't get it. You don't get it.
I think I do. So you're saying that in some ways, what the perspective that you're taking is that she's right. There is an element of husband submitting to wife, wife submitting to husband. But what that submission looks like, if submission is even the word, just looks different and takes on different degrees.
Absolutely. I think that like you can't submit to me if you don't trust me. Mm-hmm. Right? And like, I have to essentially prove my love to you to allow you to submit.
You have to prove your love to me to allow me to submit.
That's what it feels like sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Not in a way where it's like tit for tat, but it's like if you don't trust me that I'll do whatever I got to do, you know what I'm saying? Then how are you going to submit to like what I want? And it's like it's oftentimes where it's like you run the show when it comes to certain areas. Like there's certain things I'm not good at. You know, just like we were talking about a couple episodes ago, we were talking about helpmates and how, you know, in order for me to be great at one thing, you have to do what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. Like there's certain things that it's like a gear turning. You know what I'm saying? Like we're both meeting each other's needs in a different way. But if you're calling your wife to submit, it means that you're willing to die for her. That's my understanding of that.
I can align with that.
But I think what's happening here in this situation is that Shorty's getting finessed. Well, I mean, really, you guys are having a hypothetical conversation in the future. And so you're trying to get him to explain, trying to get him to understand something he's never been in, right? You're trying to get him to understand how to, it's a mutual submission when he's never really understood why he had to submit to you in any way or why that's beneficial. And I don't think that's fair for you.
Yeah. Her question was it hard as a young man to tell Yvette your position in her life as her husband, and did she expect that stance right away?
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm married to a black woman. Like, my mom's a black woman. Like, my mom don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, my experience is not that, like, women are controlled. I don't know that.
Oh.
Like, so that, like, was it hard for me as a young man to tell Yvette your position in her life? Like, that's not something that I get to tell her, here's my position in your life. She gives me a position in certain areas, I think, right?
Yeah. I think, did we already plug the PreMarital Advantage?
Yeah, first thing. She needs it twice.
I'm just saying, I feel like it goes into choosing well. And I guess I feel like every episode comes down to that. Because, and you know what's interesting? I was just thinking as Glenn was talking is, I don't know that anyone specifically spoke to me about being a submissive wife. Like in my childhood and even like right before getting married. Maybe it was in premarital counseling, but I don't remember or recall any explicit conversations about, you're supposed to submit to your husband and this is what it looks like. And so as you were talking, I was just thinking about the women in my life and what I observed, even in like my home. Like it was very obvious to me that my father was the leader, right? And oftentimes my mom either had to consult with my dad before, answering us on something, or it was obvious that they each had their lanes. Dad did the budget and made the money, and mom worked too, but like dad managed the money and all the things, and mom took care of the kids. And there was like, I don't know though. I don't know if that was.
So you saying that your mom had to consult with your dad when answering you guys?
So there would, not all the time. Like if someone said, "Hey, Yvette, can you come over for a sleepover?" and I'd ask my mom, she would say yes or no. She wouldn't necessarily like talk to my dad. Mind you, these are people that, were all like always like they were a part of the village.
Yeah.
But like I remember when we would go buy a new pair of shoes or whatever, dad would take us to go get shoes sometimes. Most of the time I feel like he took us to shop for shoes. And then like she just have to talk to him. Like if I was going to go on the 8th grade field trip to Washington, D.C., like, you know what I mean? Like it was just things.
Is this submission?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to.
It seems like communication.
It seems like communication. That's what I'm saying is, in my community, there was, it was obvious to me, like growing up, that the man was the leader. And the woman was like, I don't know if these would be words that I would have used.
Leader of what?
Of the family. Like it was obvious that the man was the head of the household, right? And that the wives supported them in everything that they did. But I'm just trying to think like, yeah, I'm a little bit lost. Because it's like she said, was it hard as a young man to tell Yvette your position? And you didn't have to tell me nothing. I just understood the assignment, you know? But I'm not sure where that understanding came from. And I don't know if it had anything to do with this whole concept of submission as much as it had to do with you are the leader. But even in our first years of marriage, I think that those lines even kind of got blurred.
Yeah, I don't know if I was a leader.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would say that it appeared so. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But, like, there wasn't a, like, hey, I don't want you to do that. And you were like, all right, okay, fine, I won't. It was like, why? Why won't you? What's your problem?
Yeah.
You don't want me to be great? Da-da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Big sir?
Okay.
I'm not trying to keep it like a record here. I'm just saying, like, I have examples of, like, hey, like, why won't Glenn let me, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And the hard part is, like, our experiences are just so different because I think a lot of what was happening during that time was, like, we both wanted different things. Like, I wanted to be home, but I was traveling, and you wanted to travel. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just different.
So the example he brought up, just for context, is I wanted to take a trip to Big Sur. I don't remember if it was like a summer vacation or like I had a break. Because as a teacher, you know, you get summer vacations and you get like these random breaks throughout the year. It might have been spring break or something. And I was like, let's go to Big Sur. And he was like, no. And I was like, well, I'm booking the trip and I'm going by myself.
Yeah, because we were trying to get out of debt at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were living with family.
Mm. Were we at the time?
Yeah. Because when we got in an argument, you got out the car.
Yeah.
Couple houses down. I didn't drop you off.
You didn't.
You wanted to get out. You were like, let me out. And we were 6 houses down from where we were staying. And you were like, I can't believe you drove off. I'm like, you're right in the cul-de-sac.
We really need to be right. I'm like, we need to save these for the book we're going to write.
Turn it down, turn around and go back.
No, but yeah, so that was the context of the argument. And I forgot what I was telling you. Because you said that and you're like, okay, so anyways, I was like, I didn't become a school teacher, so I didn't get to travel like during my time off or whatever. Yeah. And I was very frustrated. We ended up on our mentor couple's couch talking about it. And then they kind of helped Glenn see my side, my perspective. And then they also helped me see Glenn, because Glenn's always on the road. When he was doing music, he got to travel all the time and he doesn't really enjoy traveling.
But that wasn't the point. The point was that you wanted to go. And you were going by any means necessary.
Yeah, I think I already booked the trip.
You booked the trip,
hotel.
The hotel. Mm-hmm. And I didn't agree on the money being spent. Like, it was like, I was like, nah. Yeah. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to force you to stay, but I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm going to be pissed. Mm-hmm. You know? But then, like, you know, and really, I didn't want you to go by yourself.
Yeah. He was like, you're going to go on hikes and then you're going to get kidnapped. And
you know what I'm saying? But I still think that.
He does.
I still think that. But a year and a half ago, you left for 3 weeks to go to an island and you took all types of hikes, or at least walks in the woods.
Walks. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is like, it's only like you can't really think above your pay grade. You know what I'm saying? In marriage, you got to pay for that. Like, there's a giving away, a sacrifice, a covenant, a promise, something that you're giving to someone else, and you're trying to like talk about something that you don't even understand. Like, I listen to some people, like, when the way they make decisions, and you know, they may be millionaires, and I watch them make moves, and I watch them, you know, like I got a client who like has like a therapist like help them stretch in the morning, right? And I'm like, that don't seem right. But honestly, like, that's above my pay grade, right? Now probably a year ago, I probably been like, that's stupid. But now I get it. Oh, that's a perfect way to start your day. Breathe, breath work, stretching. You know what I'm saying? Like do a little whatever you got to do, meditate, and then start your day. Like that's incredible. Like I get that. But because I'm listening to some of my employees talk about, they're like, yeah, man, that don't seem right. That's off. That's weird. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of like, y'all don't even know y'all don't even know what we go through during the day. So, right now, you're talking about with submission with him, he doesn't even understand what it means to die for your wife.
Yeah.
To die to yourself. Like the type of sacrifice that Jesus made for us, right? We'll never be able to do that. But even, you won't even like do regular stuff for your girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? Let alone like die to yourself for her. I don't know. I just think it's vast. It's a very complicated conversation for someone who, making pinky promises on relationships.
Yeah.
Pinky promise. That's what I'm gonna call that dude.
Okay, Yvette, I have been a teacher. I know how important it is for children to submit to their teachers or authority in the same way that children submit to God. I don't really understand this part. Do you think that wives do the same thing?
Yeah, because in that scripture, it was talking about how like slaves should submit to their masters and, the people should submit to the government.
But I don't even feel like I'm your slave. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
yeah, man.
I don't know. I think here's what I want to say. I feel like if you are in a relationship with a person that is headstrong about you submitting to them and it makes you feel like you want to cry or that you're uncomfortable or that you don't look forward to doing that for the rest of your life, that should speak volumes to you. Because when someone says, Yvette, you're supposed to submit to Glenn, I'm like, okay. Like there is an element of peace that comes with that because I trust you and your leadership. I don't know if it's the 12 years of marriage that we've grown through together or what, but I feel like even when we were newlyweds, if someone would have checked me and said, you're supposed to submit to him, it probably would have been challenging at first, but I still would have been willing to do it without stress.
I think it's challenging now. I don't think it's just like, okay.
I understand that, but there's still like a peace that I have in submitting to your leadership.
If it was a choice, like if you chose to submit, there's an advantage for you.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if this is someone who you're like, wait a minute. Like, I think it kind of goes back to our last episode where we were talking about expectations and whether or not they were healthy or unhealthy or realistic or unrealistic. I feel like this kind of is a little bit parallel to that in that, like, Glenn, it's hard for me I'm trying to remember, because you know me, I only remember the good things.
Go ahead, say it. I'll tell you if you're lying.
Well, I just feel like you are a trustworthy person. I feel like you are a man of integrity. I feel like when I married you, I saw someone who loved well and cared about people. And
people.
And you were not.
Some people.
True. And okay. Are you just saying that to like?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure you know what I'm saying.
And I feel like you are not someone who is selfish. I feel like you are thoughtful. I feel like in some ways when I first met you, you were very legalistic, which was not necessarily the most attractive thing about you, but your legalism was tied to your honor for me. In that you cut off female relationships because you wanted to make sure I understood that I was the only woman in your life and that you didn't want to open any emotional entanglements and protect what we had. And so those were all things that led me to believe that this man, like, even though I will admit over the years, like sometimes you start to take things personal and I'm human and you just kind of succumb to the flesh. But overall, like, Glenn is for me. You know what I mean? Like, he has no ill intentions toward me. And so it's not hard for me to submit, if that's the word that we want to use. But when I think about submission, I think I've quoted her on this podcast before, but Melissa Fredericks, I'm not sure if it was in her book or if it was.
She was talking on a panel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was a panel discussion. Okay. But I saw a clip of her where she was talking about submission, and she refers to sub as being under, beneath, or whatever. And so she likes to think of submission as a husband and wife being under one mission. And I heard her say it, and it has stuck with me because I feel like that is exactly what Glenn and I are doing. Like, in the mission, the mission may be a mission that the Lord gave to Glenn, but it's a mission that I can come alongside him and support him in and help to make it come to fruition, as long as it brings honor to the Lord and the kingdom work that he has set for our family.
I think the question becomes, though, what happens when you have a mission? Like, when God gives you a mission.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, do you feel like you're going to lose following my lead? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Because I think that's what most women are concerned with. And I don't know if she's concerned with this as much. I think this person doesn't value her opinion, and he thinks she's going to fail. Right? I think that he thinks that she's, like, incapable of making right decisions. So he never has to listen to her. That's what it seems like.
And honestly, like, from the way that this email was written, I feel like, my love, you need to go to therapy.
By yourself.
Just because I don't feel like you've worked through a lot of the abuse. And I could be misspeaking because you didn't really mention this in here, but I don't know if you've really worked through the abuse that you experienced as a child. And I do believe that our abuse or our upbringing or all those things really does inform how we make decisions about the people we choose to love or trust.
Yeah.
And if this man, like you said, he was the first man you ever trusted with your body, your feelings, and your heart. I'm not sure how you came to that conclusion or what he said or did or whatever. And I'm not even saying that this is a bad man. Like, I don't want to say this is a bad man. He may also need to do some healing and get a deeper and better understanding of.
It's obvious. We all need that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I think it would be worthwhile before getting married for you to start your therapy journey and really dig deep about your view of men, because the type of man you've chosen may be as a result of your abuse. And once you start healing from that abuse, you might start to have a different perspective of the love that you want for your life.
Well, I was going to say, too, like, sometimes, like, you know, the way she says it, like, this bothers me. She goes, you know, along the way, I met this guy who's, you know, very kind, God-fearing, handsome, makes great pinky promises, right? Then it says, when we first met, right, and we became friends, which was crazy timing because I had just gotten over this essay case that she was dealing with. So the crazy thing is, he could have just been the example of the type of man that you needed to be around. He could have just been a friend and an example. He may not have been the guy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying you're 7 years in, and I'm bothered by people who don't take breaks after certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, there should have been a moment where you just sat still, because there's so much happening in your life. You might not even be able to know whether or not things are a trauma response. So when Yvette goes, yo, you were very, she goes, Glenn, you were very trustworthy or a man of integrity, but I was clinging to Yvette so I wouldn't lose her. Right? Like, I got abandonment issues that allowed me to try to make everything perfect for her so that she won't leave. Like, that's how, like, she's like, oh, and he was cutting people out of his life so that he knew that it was about us. Like, that was a trauma response.
Shoot.
You know what I'm saying?
So
like,
I didn't choose well?
No, I mean, I think it worked out eventually, but I don't think without therapy I would have been able to even articulate these things. But it wasn't for like me just being a great guy. It was trauma. You know what I'm saying? And so when we talk about this relationship with this young lady, you know, I do think you have a false view of what you deserve because you're already saying that you have to deal with this for the rest of your life. And there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. You can leave this relationship right now. You know what I mean? But I know you're like, you know, it's some security. It's some security that's attached to that. He's the only man that ever made you feel safe. That's a problem. You need more safe examples. He's the only man that you ever trusted with your feelings and your heart. And you said your body. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you should trust everybody with your body, but I'm just saying your feelings and your heart, like with your feelings, like no other man you've ever trusted. So of course he has a savior complex and you have like almost like this worshiping thing with him to where you're trying to convince him that you're worthy enough to listen to. You know what I mean? Like that's just not the truth. You know what I mean? Like you are worthy of hearing. You should be heard. My wife's voice is invited into the decisions I make. I try to communicate as often as possible about everything I have going on because I want her take on it. And most of the time, she don't care at all. She like, what? What is that? I don't know.
Not most of the time.
Sometimes.
But sometimes.
I'm like, yo, we should do this thing. Oh, I don't know. You know what we should do? This thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you know, but like even this whole like thing that we do now with social is Yvette's submission.
Facts.
Because it wasn't her. She never wanted to be in the limelight, or she all wanted to hide and be quiet and go on trips and be, you know what I'm saying?
Go on trips.
No,
but he's right. Like, I grew up in like, you know, a small Baptist church, and
the little example.
My dad was a preacher. My mom was a choir director. They had all these different roles in leadership in the church. And then I was often looked at, you know, I was the youth
little virgin
president.
Girl with straight A's.
Who was a good Christian girl. You know, and so when Glenn and I got married, I was excited to leave that church where nobody knew anything about me and had no expectations of what I could do and how I could pour into people's lives. I just wanted to exist, you know? And so often, it's so interesting that you bring that up because I feel like even still, sometimes I just want to exist. And I know that I can still exist, but I do believe that Glenn and I are called to something more. And I take that responsibility very seriously now because every time I try to like hide, I'm realizing that the light of God that is in me, you can't hide it.
You can't hide that light.
You can't hide that light.
And
why should I want to?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why should I want to? So here we are doing this podcast. But yeah.
I was listening to someone talk the other day, and they were talking about like, you know how like some people ask like these star athletes and these actors and all these people like, how do you turn it on? How you turn it on? Like, how do you just turn in that switch and go to that second gear? Mm-hmm. And he was explaining, he was like, most people who operate at that level, it's not an on and off switch. Yeah. Because if you shut off every light in this entire building and you pressed it, turned it back on, it would take a while for everything to turn on, right? Mm-hmm. It would turn on gradually.
It makes me think of when I used to go into the gym at the high school and turn on the lights, and it would be like,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? But he was like, it's never turned off. It's a dimmer. It's just at the lowest setting, right? So if I got to turn it on, I just brighten the light. You know what I mean? And so like so many people are stifled.
That's really good, babe.
And the shout out to freaking Tim Grover who said it, but you know, so many people are stifled by, you know, what's around them, their environment, that they can't even shine. Like this person here, she don't even recognize how valuable she is because she's in a relationship. And I don't know if it's the relationship's fault. I think it's the abuse and the trauma. Yeah. And the relationship is a representation of that. Because even if this man is a great guy, right, she still sees him as a like something she depends on. You know what I mean? And she's like, dang, I finally met somebody who won't abuse me. Like that's her standard.
That makes me want to cry.
You know what I'm saying? That's very low standard. Like he don't got to do much. And I understand being an idiot, right? I understand because I've been that dumb before. Where I'm like, yeah, thinking like, oh, you have to submit to me, not you, but like women before you. I'm like, yeah, of course, yeah. You need to teach her how to submit. Like that's the dumb stuff we used to say in Bible study. Just a bunch of dudes who stink. We work out and then we be sitting there, yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, and it's like, yo, I'm dealing with a human who has her own thoughts, ideas, her own dreams, and we are going to do this together. You know what I'm saying? And so my wife, I'm not trying to shut her down or anything like that, but there's like, we have to learn about seasons and time and you know, money together, all the things. You know what I'm saying? Because most of the time for me, it's never no. It's always like, can we do it later? Not right now.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? I'm never saying no.
That's
I'm just
really
like,
true.
maybe. You know what I mean? Or how are we going to do that? That's my response.
He basically pokes holes in all my plans and it's like, babe, that's not practical right now.
And then even still, sometimes he may be like, well, you don't believe in me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, like I'm just asking a question, you know? But yeah, man, I think you deserve better than you think. And I don't think that this guy's a bad guy. I just think he's not smart enough to recognize all the flaws in his conversation, because it's like, no way scripture can be your main point and you didn't make a covenant with someone you've been with for 7 years. That's the corniest thing I've ever heard, man. I mean, it's not the corniest thing I've heard. I've definitely heard cornier things, but
I mean, well, if he has her body and he's living with her,
I mean, what does that mean?
I'm just saying, why does he need to have the covenant thing? Because
it's
he's
no
already
reason.
got what he needs.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a pinky promise, man.
Yeah.
It's a pinky promise. Like, why wouldn't he marry you? What are you building? First of all, you're not building a foundation. You're not doing that. Like, that's just not true. Like, how long are you going to take to build a foundation? Like, how long did that take? This pouring concrete. You know what I'm saying? Like, how long does that take? You got to dig, you got to build. And y'all ain't even mention therapy, so I know y'all not really digging. Y'all building on a faulty foundation. You building on abuse and trauma. That's what your foundation is.
Yeah. What I want to say to you, I don't even know you, but I'm like, we love you. I feel like this has been...
We just beat her up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But did we get to the rest of her questions?
I think we're done. Although I have to submit to my future husband, will I... Oh, let's just answer this one question. She said, although I have to submit to my future husband, will I still be seen as his equal in Christ's eyes, or am I beneath or under him? Will it always be my primary job to take care of the home, and how can I better accept it? Man, that's a whole other podcast.
Bro. Therapy is for everybody.
It's for everybody.
It's for
sure.
everybody. But this is like you got like your doctrine is off.
Yeah. The Lord, we are all children of God. He sees you as his daughter. You are his beloved. He loves you. There is no one that he sees as higher or lower than you.
Right.
And so just know that you are seen, first of all, and that he loves you beyond any love you can even conceptualize.
Yeah.
Truly. But that last question, we gonna have to talk about that.
Oh, this right here would always be my primary job to take care of the home.
And how can I better accept that? That might need to be a podcast episode between me and somebody who is like 60 years old.
Will it always be my primary job to take care of the home?
Let us know in the comments below if you made it this far in the episode, because this is a long one.
Yeah.
Do you want us to do a podcast episode about that, women? Maybe I could do like a for women only or something. I don't know. Maybe you can be a part of it too.
I mean, do your own podcast. How many?
Oh, you got unplugged. Yeah.
Why you kicking me off the podcast to answer a question?
Because I have this same question.
Will it always be my primary job to take care
of the home? And then how do I reconcile with that reality? All right, I love you guys. Oh, how married are you, babe?
I'm so married. What did I do? Oh, I fixed the garage door.
Thank you.
Yeah, I fixed the garage door. It wasn't working. And it's like whenever I need to do something, it's always something else I need to do before I can do it. Like last time, Theo asked me to get the puck, but I had to learn how to use the ladder because I didn't know how to use that big old ladder. You know what I'm saying? And I just like squished my fingers a few times. I didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? But in order to fix the garage door, I had to move all the sandbags. So I had to move like 20 sandbags.
Are they gone? I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah, they're not in the way anymore.
Nice. I was planning on doing that myself. Was it heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to figure it out. You know me.
Yeah.
It's going to be a workout.
I don't know you. I don't know you.
You don't know me?
Mm-mm.
I really was, because I've been wanting to get into the garage. When you guys were in LA this weekend, I was like, oh, I can go in the garage and finally try to like organize it or whatever. And then I saw the sandbags and I was like, dang it. And then I remembered that I can't even lift up the garage door.
Yeah.
So it was just a whole situation.
It's fixed now.
I went to work on the boys' room instead.
All right, how married are you?
I'm so married that Glenn's birthday is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I stopped myself. Because I have self-control, and we've had this argument too many years in our 12 years of being together. 13, 14? How many years have we been together? 14 birthdays that we've been together. I stopped myself from reaching out to his guy friends and saying, hey, you guys should do something for Glenn's birthday.
Ugh.
I stopped myself. That's how married I am.
I'm a grown man. I know how to call my friends together.
I know you know how to, but do you?
I do. We watched the fight together. That was my idea.
Oh, that's true.
And I paid for the whole thing. The dudes ain't paid.
Hopefully they don't watch this episode and be like,
man. Some bums.
You need better friends.
Nah, that's all good.
And that's just how married we are.